In most cases, toxic relationships don't begin with screaming, cheating, or obvious abuse. Sometimes they begin with confusion. You start second guessing yourself, apologize for things you didn't even do, and slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to lose yourself inside the relationship. The scary part? Many toxic relationships don't feel toxic at first because toxicity is not always loud. Sometimes it hides behind love, attachment, attention, and emotional dependency. So, how do you know if your relationship is actually healthy or quietly damaging your mental and emotional well being? Before diving into the signs of toxic relationship, you should know that a healthy relationship should bring peace more often than chaos. It should feel emotionally safe, respectful, and supportive. Not perfect, but healthy. So if your relationship constantly leaves you anxious, confused, or mentally drained, it's important you pay attention. Number 1, you feel drained more than happy. One of the biggest signs of a toxic relationship is emotional exhaustion. After spending time with them, you don't feel loved or energized. Instead, you feel tired, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Healthy relationships can have conflict, but they should not constantly feel like emotional survival. If every conversation becomes stressful, if you're always anxious about their reactions, and if you constantly feel emotionally heavy around them, your nervous system may already be telling you something your heart is trying to ignore. Love should not feel like walking on eggshells all the time. Number 2, you constantly doubt yourself. Toxic relationships often create self-doubt. You start questioning your memory, your emotions, your reactions. You say things like, maybe I'm overreacting, maybe I'm too sensitive, maybe it is my fault. This becomes especially dangerous when someone constantly dismisses your feelings or manipulates situations to avoid accountability. Over time, you stop trusting yourself, and once someone makes you doubt your own reality, they gain emotional control over you. A healthy partner helps you feel understood, while a toxic one makes you feel confused. Number 3, communication turns into fear. Can you express yourself honestly without fear? That question matters more than people realize. In toxic relationships, communication stops feeling safe. You become afraid to bring things up because it turns into a fight, or they shut down, they blame you, or they punish you emotionally afterward. So instead of communicating openly, you stay silent to keep the peace. But silence is not peace, it is self-suppression. Healthy relationships allow difficult conversations without emotional punishment. And when a relationship trains you to silence your emotions just to avoid conflict, resentment slowly builds inside you. Number 4, they control you. Control in toxic relationships is not always obvious. Sometimes it's subtle. They may guilt trip you for spending time with friends, get upset when you focus on yourself, monitor who you talk to, make you feel bad for setting boundaries, or slowly isolate you emotionally. And because it happens gradually, many people don't notice it at first. The relationship becomes smaller and smaller until your world revolves around keeping them comfortable. Real love does not require control, it requires trust. If someone needs to control your freedom to feel secure, that's not healthy attachment. That's emotional dependency mixed with insecurity. Number 5, you feel responsible for their emotions. This is one of the most overlooked signs. You begin feeling responsible for managing their moods, anger, sadness, or reactions. You constantly adjust yourself to prevent them from becoming upset. You become emotionally hyper-aware. You overthink every word, every tone, and every decision. And eventually, you stop asking, "What do I need?" Because your entire focus becomes, "How do I avoid upsetting them?" And that's emotionally exhausting. Empathy is healthy. However, carrying another person's emotional responsibility at the cost of your own mental health is not love. It's emotional imbalance. Number 6, the relationship feels addictive. One of the most confusing things about toxic relationships is that they can feel incredibly intense. The highs feel amazing, the affection feels powerful, the connection feels deep, but the lows are devastating. This creates an emotional cycle where pain and reward become intertwined. After conflict comes affection. After distance comes intense attention. And after hurt comes temporary closeness. And your brain starts craving the emotional high after the suffering. That's why toxic relationships can become addictive. Not because they are healthy, but because inconsistency creates emotional dependency. Healthy love feels stable while toxic love feels chaotic, and many people mistake chaos for passion. Number 7. You are losing your identity. A major red flag is when you slowly stop feeling like yourself. Maybe you've stopped doing things you once loved. Maybe your confidence has decreased. Maybe your personality feels smaller. Maybe you don't even recognize the person you've become in the relationship. Toxic relationships slowly erode identity. Not all at once, but little by little. Until one day you realize you've spent so much time trying to keep the relationship alive that you abandoned yourself in the process. Love should expand you, not erase you. Number 8. Problems never actually get resolved. In healthy relationships, problems lead to growth, while in toxic relationships, the same issues keep repeating endlessly. You argue, you cry, you fix it, then the exact same thing happens again. The cycle continues on and on. No accountability, no genuine change, just temporary apologies and repeated behavior. Words without action create false hope, and many people stay because they become attached to the potential instead of reality. Don't just listen to promises, watch patterns, because patterns reveal the truth more than apologies ever will. Number 9. Your self-worth depends on them. If their attention determines your happiness, the relationship may already be unhealthy. Toxic dynamics often create emotional dependency where their validation becomes your confidence, their approval becomes your self-worth, and their presence becomes your emotional stability. So when they pull away, you feel empty. Not because you love them deeply, but because your identity becomes emotionally attached to their behavior. Love should complement your life. It should not become the only reason you feel valuable. The moment your worth depends entirely on another person, you become vulnerable to emotional manipulation. Number 10. Deep down, you already know. This may be the hardest truth of all. Many people in toxic relationships already know something is wrong, but they stay because they fear loneliness, or they remember the good moments, they hope things will change, or they believe love alone can fix everything. But deep down, their body already knows. Your anxiety knows, your exhaustion knows, your constant overthinking knows. Sometimes the hardest part is not recognizing toxicity, it's accepting it. Because acceptance may require change, boundaries, distance, or even letting go. And that can be painful. But staying in something that constantly destroys your peace is even more painful. If you recognized yourself in several of these signs, the video is not telling you to immediately end your relationship, but it is asking you to become honest with yourself. A healthy relationship should not constantly make you feel anxious, small, confused, controlled, or emotionally exhausted. Love is not supposed to cost you your identity, and healing begins the moment you stop normalizing emotional pain just because someone occasionally gives you affection. You deserve relationships where communication feels safe, respect is mutual, boundaries are honored, and love does not require self-abandonment. The right relationship will not force you to betray yourself just to keep it alive. And sometimes the most important relationship you save is the one you have with yourself. If this video resonated with you, do subscribe for more content about emotional healing, self-worth, relationships, and personal growth. And remember, real love should feel safe, not confusing.